Welcome to PowerUp podcast, the podcast that seeks to empower and dismantle, giving us the power and confidence to question, deconstruct, rebuild, and expand in life. I'm your host, Amma Rouge, voiceover and multidisciplinary artist, well-being advocate, food and book geek with over 14 years of movement-centered experience.
I am your host, Mesma, artist, choreographer, yogi and coach with a passion for alchemy, creativity, transformation and workplace wellness.
We recognise that we can't dismantle and empower or be empowered without first learning ourselves, diving deeper to unlearn the harmful, restrictive and unprogressive. It's an ongoing practice and journey for us all, which is why we created this podcast.
Our show features guests doing the work to enlighten, deconstruct and power up in their own magical ways.
We're going to be having conversations around the power of healing, transformation, well-being and creativity, and how they feed our personal and collective evolution, how they help us power up.
We are live with Vangile Makwakwa, an amazing human being who I have had the pleasure to meet via the also amazing Tony Stewart. And welcome, Vangile. It's such a joy to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me, Ella. Thank you so much for having me, Amma. I'm so excited to be on here.
Welcome.
We're so excited to have you.
Vangile, pronouns she, her, is the author of 3 books, Heart, Mind and Money, Using Emotional Intelligence for Financial Success, and the Holistic Wealth Manifesto Workbook, and the Next Level You, Money and Womb Journal. She has a finance honours degree from the University of Cape Town and an MBA from the Simmons School of Management. She started her personal finance journey by paying off £60,000 in debt, whoop, 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 and living a cash life. She's a full-time entrepreneur and the founder of wealthymoney.com, a company that helps women of colour heal ancestral money trauma so they can fall in love with their bank accounts, increase income, and live their best lives. Amazing. The company does this through online coaching, its online course academy, podcasts, and international retreat. Vangile is also the host of 2 podcasts, the Money Magic podcast and the Property Magicians podcast, an A to Z guide to property investing, which has over 63,000 downloads on Podbean and is in the top 20 podcasts in the business and investment segments in South Africa and the top 50 in Botswana. Amazing. And I also love it. I'm a fan. Vangile is also the chairperson of Property Magicians Stokvel, which has over 100 members. I definitely want to know more about what that is. Invests in properties and raised 2 million rand in the first 5 months of its launch in August 2021.
So that's £100,000.
Amazing.
Just casually.
As you do. Yeah.
Yes, Vangile. Yes.
And then just casually, Vangile has been traveling for 15 years and has lived in over 12 different countries and has been building her company whilst traveling and is joining us today from Mexico.
Yes.
Amazing. Inspired.
So inspiring. So delicious. Yum, yum, yum.
Yum.
Oh, thank you, ladies. Thank you so much.
So we would love to hear, this journey. Like, what is your lifestyle like now that you are living this adventure that is your life? And we this theme is all around the idea of creator. And you are certainly creating, right?
Yeah, I know people ask this question a lot, but because I've been living this lifestyle since I was right out of university, especially since I graduated from UCT, I got my finance degree. All my friends went into the workplace, started earning money, and I chose this insane life of just getting a flight ticket, going to work in different countries, and it's just been my life. So there is no before, after for me. it's just, this is what it has always been. And I think that makes it a lot easier for me than when I read how people are quitting jobs, like redoing everything. I tried to go back to South Africa and I did for 2.5 years, and I got a job and I settled down. But that actually felt like the anomaly. That felt really weird. So what this feels like for me is kind of like life, but I will be honest and say that in recent months, I think during COVID, everyone got to settle down and shelter in one place. And I did that in Sri Lanka in 2020. But even then, I was traveling all over Sri Lanka. Then I left for South Africa, and then I was all over South Africa. And then I traveled throughout South Africa, now in Mexico, and I'm traveling in Mexico. I'll head to Costa Rica and then Panama next. But yeah, it's kind of like my lifestyle right now.
You said earlier that this is your normal and it feels really normal to you. And, you see, well, one, you see people quitting their jobs and then kind of shaping their lives like this now. But your life has always been like this since you finished uni. And there was a period where you went back to South Africa for 2.5 years and got, let's say, a stationary job that was in one place. And actually, that felt really abnormal to you. Was it always part of your vision, always part of your dream, or a life plan to live this kind of life? Did you think, as soon as I finish university, I'm not going to go the expected, potentially standard route and get a job, and I'm going to live in this way and work in this way? That's my first question. And my second question is, in terms of being still and settled in South Africa, and what coming out of that was, which was writing your book, which also led you out of debt. Again, was that something that intuitively came to you? Was it something that happened beyond what your plans were in the time? Or was that planned out as part of your strategic journey, let's say?
I really love this question. The answer is yes to both questions. I don't have a plan necessarily, but I was that student at university that was always like, I'm going to travel. And in high school, I remember very clearly we were supposed to choose universities. When everyone's busy choosing universities and choosing careers and where you're going to go to next. I actually didn't choose a university. I didn't choose a career because I'd say to everyone, but I know I'm going to be traveling. I know I'm never going to work for anyone. So why do I need this? And my mother kicked me out of home because she was like, there's no way as a Black child, you're going to need a degree for the world to take you seriously. So she kicked me out. And she told my dad to come pick me up and to talk sense into me. And at the time, I had convinced my dad to give me money to go traveling instead of paying for university. Like I'd really worked on him for like a whole year, and my mother destroyed all that. And then my dad turned on me and was like, you need to go to university. Your mother is 100% right. She's helping me see the light. You really can't do this without a degree. So I went because, I didn't know how else to support myself. So I knew I wanted to travel, but I was at the place. And I think for me, the beautiful thing is that I was at the place of how the hell do I do this at the age of 17? And I had no clue. But then, like 4 years later, I had this degree in hand, and I was also working a job as a mining and energy analyst. And I told my boss at the time, I was like, I'm keeping my work for like 6 months, but then I'm quitting and I'm going traveling. And I had absolutely no clue how I was going to do that. So I didn't have a plan, but then I got offered a job abroad. I'm not kidding you guys, like 6 months. By the sixth month, everything came together. I started telling everyone, I'm going traveling. And people were like, how are you going to do that? You don't have the money. Everything came together. Like it was just incredible on the sixth month. So it wasn't, it wasn't planned, but I was met by the universe, like I was met every part of the way. And then to write the book, also not planned, but I knew I wanted to be a writer. So after the MBA program, I finished and I was like, and I started getting very depressed and everything. And for me, it's a real thing, right? Like, I don't know, many people can go against their spirit and their soul for like long periods of time. But honestly, with me, it takes me a matter of like days. My mom always says, you know what's going on with Van within like 48 hours because she's about to tell you. So when I'm like, so I knew right after my MBA program, I started having panic attacks and getting depressed. It was about money, but it was also that I wasn't following my path. And I was hell bent on getting a job, by the way. I was living in Boston, on getting an investment banking job because in my head, that's how I was going to make money.
Okay.
Right? And wow, and it just didn't happen. So I got extremely depressed, couldn't get out of bed, started having panic attacks around money. And then the funniest thing happened because I've always wanted to be a writer and I've always found it easy to write. I got writer's block. As all this was happening, the one thing that was always my safety, I got blocked with. And I realize now that it was because I was refusing to honor the gift. And the gift was writing. So I feel like part of my soul was just like, it's just too painful because she's not honoring this gift, like I don't know what to do with it. And it was in the midst of working through my writer's block that I then started writing the book and going back to writing. But it's interesting, actually, I never really connected this until the podcast, that in the depths of my depression and panic attacks is also when my writing kind of blocked. So I don't know if one led to the other or it's interconnected.
And I'm intrigued by like where that confidence, like where, it's like there was all the difficult stuff happening, yes, but somehow there's this knowing that you have of who you are. And where did that come from? Like, what was that little bit of magic that gave you that confidence?
I don't know, because from as long as I could remember in high school, like my friends would laugh and call me a witch, and they would say that I was a wise old owl. So that's what they would say to me. Like I was 14, and my friends would be like, "You're so wise. You're a wise old owl," and I just didn't know. Yeah, like it's really, really fascinating. I think I've just always been this person that just remembered their past lives from a young age, just kind of knew things. I guess it's just the way I was. And I just knew that like I needed to travel. Like I can't explain to anyone. Like from the time I from the time I was in grade 12, I was already talking about how I would travel and go see various countries, how I would spend time on the ocean exploring various places. And would you believe it? That's what my adult life has been about. So I mean, like, I have a theory going that with the work that I do now with inner teen and inner child, because so much of the things that as part of the healing work, and Ella, you're in the Money Magic course, you'll know this.
Yes,
So,
I
as
love
part of
it.
the healing work, is you can also bring your inner child and your inner teen to see your life now. So I have this really wild theory that when we do the work, we're actually impacting timelines. And so that there's probably, because I'm doing so much of the healing work in my adulthood, my inner child and my inner teen were being told and were seeing this timeline, right? And were coming through, which is what I do now. I show them this is what's happening. And as part of the healing work, as I'm healing their trauma, they're getting to see this because so much of what I would say was so clear, so clear. Like I've always known certain things.
Amazing.
is phenomenal. I love this. And it sounds as well that you, through this journey, you've become very clear about when you are, like when you go against your soul, as you said, that's when you step out of your creator. That's when you move away from being able to be in your genius.
Yes, definitely. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day about the zone of genius, right? And that we all have, Gay Hendricks talks about it in his book, The Big Leap. And it's all about like how we all have a zone of genius. And I think that most of us don't work within our zone of genius. And we actually are so beyond not working in the zone of genius. We don't know what it is and we're so scared of it, right? And the zone of genius is the part of you that if you only did that for the rest of your life, you would still excel. You would still make a living. You would still, like, so much of your life would come into alignment. So for me, that's always been really, really interesting. And I feel like it's really, really important to know that. But I feel like I've just always known. And I do believe that most of us have always known what we wanted and who we
I
are.
agree.
And for some of us, it's just there's so much chatter. We've bought into what others have told us, and we've learned to shut that down, right? And for whatever reason, with me, it just didn't shut down. And I always say, like, I have just this insane way of always remembering things, which also means I remember my past lives, which is why as a child, I always knew that, like,
That's what your wise woman was. It was that you've been here before.
and I think that's what has helped me make the decisions that I make, because I really, really understand that that there's many experiences that you get to have in different lifetimes, and that you get to also choose the experience that you want to have in this
I
lifetime.
agree.
And I know that one of my missions in this lifetime is to learn to let go of things. I don't know how I know that, but I just know it, that like I'm in a constant process of letting go. And that's why I'm constantly traveling. Because traveling, at least with the way that I do it, right? Like I'm building communities in different countries. I'm in countries for like 6 to 8 months. I'm living there. I learn the culture. Right now, I'm learning Spanish. I'm speaking it. I'm engaging in the culture. And then after a while, my spirit and my guidance system will say, let it go, go. So I feel like this has been the constant learning of my life. But the other flip side of that is that I feel like one of the things that I'm constantly here to learn is how to trust the divine, because I'm constantly letting go of things that I said that I critically important for existence, and yet I'm having to constantly learn how to trust and trust and trust. And that is my one of my biggest struggles, is trusting the divine, which is hilarious because a lot of people think I do that really well. But because I'm constantly having to let go of what I'm comfortable with, and homes and things that I love, just people that I am so deeply tethered to in different countries, it requires
And I
trust.
think in a way, Vangile, you are actually really good at those things because you're doing it, because you're diligent with this work. Um,
Yeah.
and I mean, the reason I joined your course was, of course, a recommendation by Tony Stewart, but also was like seeing, you are a living example of someone who's really transmuted your beliefs around money, your old kind of patterns around money, and then is living this example. And I wanted to just ask you a bit about that course and kind of the results that you're seeing with other participants.
Oh my gosh. I mean, Ella, the results are insane.
Mhm.
I mean, it's just, I think it would be one thing if I was seeing results with maybe 10 or even 20 people. But like, it's like at this point, like over hundreds of people, right? So it's just, I don't, I want like, and I sometimes know, I know that I barely speak about the Money Magic course often, like even on this podcast, I barely mentioned it, right? And my work, because I think that also I don't have quite the language to explain what the hell is going on. I know people think that I would know. Like one of the Money Magic students said to me, Van, how does it feel when you see all this happening? I'm like, I am also just a spectator. Like, I mean, a lot of this work, I feel like I'm so guided, right? Like, it's not like I am this guru. It's also coming from somewhere. Like, I sit down, I have ancestors appear to me, they guide me, they share things with me. And like one of the scariest moments was in March. I was sitting and I'm telling my mom about this ancestor, and I tell her the name, and I'm like, she comes through and she tells me womb stuff. This is how the Woman Money Journal was birthed, and all these things. And my mom just goes, "Oh yeah, that's my grand aunt. You just described her to the T, and even the name that you used, that is her." And that's what she did. My mom says that I don't want to say psychic, because my mom said her exact words were she had the gift of prophecy, and she was doing cesareans long before cesareans became a thing in hospitals.
Wow. Wow.
So,
Wow.
like,
Wow.
yeah, really, really crazy, right? So my mom is like, oh, that explains why you are now doing the womb work the way that you're doing. So if you tell me that this is the ancestor that's coming through, she used to be able to help people have babies when the doctors had told them that there was no hope.
Wow.
So this is where the meditations are coming from this particular lineage, these kinds of ancestors. So this is where the work comes from. And as a result, when I see these incredible results, I'm always just blown away, because I've seen people change their family dynamics. I've seen people come back and say, I haven't had a period in years. Suddenly I started doing the work and I'm getting my period again. I've had people in my WhatsApp talk about how they're doing the womb work. Now they're pregnant. I've had people come through, share. Yesterday in the masterclass, someone shared that they have 20 times their income since joining the Money Magic course. So she was sharing in the chat. People are saving money. People get out of debt. We had someone who didn't have retirement savings, and in 3 years, she now has more than enough to leave her children a legacy and an inheritance. So it's a journey, but it is incredible.
So if people want to work with you, having listened to your journey, having listened to some of the experiences and expansion that participants who are working with you or working with what you've created are having, how can they work with you? Where can they go to access these beautiful offerings?
Oh, yeah. So the best place to start is maybe with my free 7-day training. Go to wealthy-money.com/training. Again, wealthy-money.com/training. You'll get the training, and then you can reply to me by email. People certainly do. By like day 4, people are like, how do we work with you? And they just send me a reply. They don't really even get to a full 7 days. So just reply to the emails then. It's going to be the easiest way. And then obviously check out the Money Magic podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and Podbean. And I'm also on YouTube. So just look for Wealthy Money on YouTube, but it's all good.
Amazing.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Vangile. We are so uplifted and filled up to have had you on today.
Oh, thank you so much, Ella. Thank you so much, Amma. This has been amazing.
Such a gift to have you. Yeah, I'm just so, I feel so lucky to have you on here with us right now. Thank you.
I feel so lucky to be on here.
Thank you for listening. You can connect to us and our guests via the links in each episode's show notes. Before you go, we invite you to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of the goodness to come. And if you enjoyed today, perhaps tell a friend to tell a friend. We are always grateful for you, our listeners, for our fabulous guests, and to everyone who has contributed to and been a part of our journey here.
Our music is by Tomo Carter. Everything else is brought to you by us, the PowerUp Power Team.
I'm Mesma.
I am Ama Rouge. And we are PowerUp Podcast.